Joining us now is a candidate for Senate in the state of Colorado, Diana Bray. Welcome to the Damage Report.
Thank you so much.
Glad to have you here. I'm very interested to have you introduce yourself to your audience so we can talk about your platform. What's your background? What do you bring into this race?
So I'm a clinical psychologist and I'm a mom of 4, and I've actually been working in climate activism for 10 years. And I decided to get into this race because I didn't see others who had been working in climate or understood the gravity of the climate emergency. And my husband and I were in Australia with our 4 kids, and we saw that there was a move to basically dredge a harbor in order to build 3 liquefied natural gas plants, which they did on the Great Barrier Reef. And they actually dumped the spoil there, came back to Colorado and realized that we had become a petro state with 65,000 oil and gas wells. And we now have a F rating with the American Lung Association. Wow. We're sort of punching above our weight with damage.
Well, I'm perfectly happy to start at the climate crisis and dealing with that. So in terms of your activism, tell me a little bit, how have things changed over the past 10 years? I mean, back 10 years ago, there weren't as many people or organizations talking about it. Now it is a high profile issue. So tell me a little bit about that evolution.
Well, honestly, we used to go and protest, and we'd act like an oil spill or something, and there'd be 10 of us essentially protesting and trying to bring attention to what was going on. And literally, there would be 10 of us, say, protesting in front of the former governor's mansion, John Hickenlooper, and half of them would be my own kids. The change that I see is now that there's a huge amount of progressive energy, and people are understanding the enormity of the crisis, the existential crisis of our time. And that is the major difference. How do you wrap your mind around 85,000 koalas being burnt to death? How do you wrap your mind around people having to walk into billabongs and lakes and rivers and the ocean to escape fire? The droughts, the hurricanes, all of these are increasing, and people are finally aware that we have to do something. And it's the existential crisis of our time, but also there's going to be 200 million to 1 billion climate refugees. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be a destabilizing force everywhere. So people have finally become interested. Where we used to be in the minority, now people are interested.
So tell me about your plan. If you make it into office, what would you like to do to help address this climate crisis?
Well, first, we absolutely have to stop subsidizing oil and gas industry. That's the first thing. Secondly, we have to stop exporting fossil fuels, and we also have to stop drilling on public lands. There are so many measures that the federal government could take that they're not taking, and it was incredibly disappointing to me in 2018 when our 4 Democratic gubernatorial candidates did not support a move to keep fracking out of our backyards. When you have candidates and electeds, Democrats, who are not interested in supporting these measures to regulate fracking and industrial activity, it's a real problem. And so we have to get more candidates in, more representatives who are not beholden to the oil and gas industry, who are not interested in trying to support or bolster that, and are not interested in bolstering this corporate stranglehold that is now present. And it's not just oil and gas. If you are somebody who supports the NRA or Big Pharma, you are supporting the GOP and their methods for sort of trying to make money and essentially have this greedy kind of business model that is not working for many of our people on the planet. And it is sort of this irony that the most vulnerable people are going to be more impacted, and the rich are literally going to be scrambling on top of each other and trying to get literally to high ground to try to escape climate disaster. What we see with the coronavirus and with other infectious diseases, those are going to be increasing. And so I am also proposing and promoting a Medicare for all, because that is a system that I think will work for everyone in a way that our current system does not.
And so I'm curious, 2 of the potential opponents, one current, one possibly future. Inside of the primary, you have John Hickenlooper, and you are running to potentially go up against Cory Gardner, the GOP incumbent, on these big issues which are focusing on your platform. Dealing with the climate crisis, Medicare for all. What's the distinction between you and those 2 opponents of yours?
Well, we couldn't be more different, honestly. John Hickenlooper did more than anyone, I think, else in this entire state for 8 years to try to promote oil and gas. And he actually sued counties and cities that tried to ban fracking. And what I think is extreme is the fact that many people are willing to tolerate people and families, kids getting sick, people who are having bloody noses and respiratory illnesses. That's what's extreme. But unfortunately, our current administration, and as well as people who are here in my race, Hickenlooper in particular, have done all they can to support the oil and gas industry. And we now have a situation where we are having tremendous health impacts. I mean, these chemicals are carcinogens, they're endocrine disruptors, they're neurotoxins, and these are doing great harm to us. So there's the local impacts, and I think it's unforgivable what John Hickenlooper fostered in this state, because he hasn't been, and I think he's out of touch, frankly, with people. I think that that we're going to find out tomorrow. I believe that Bernie is going to win this state, and that he's going to do very well tomorrow all over the country in Super Tuesday. But I don't believe that John Hickenlooper has vision for the future. And there are 10 of us in this race. There are some very progressive women, but we are bringing a completely different idea to this race in terms of where we're going. We have progressive energy, and I'm the only person who's actually worked in climate, and it has been incredibly devastating to me personally. It's been my obsession to be focusing on this for 10 years, and there just hasn't been that much interest among centrist Democrats or Republicans, of course. So I'm trying to bring change, and I think that we're going to have an opportunity this time around, because there is so much progressive vision. And I think most people are now saying, no, we don't want that archaic way of digging fossil fuels out of the land and burning them. That's past. That time is past, and we need to move on to renewable energy and a just transition.
Okay, Diana Bray, thank you once again for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.